Okay. It is 6 p.m. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2026. This is a call to order for the Lincoln City Council. If we could have Pastor Nelson from Lincoln Church here in Lincoln.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a reading from Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Let's pray. Lord God, as we travel through this seasonal change from the dark of winter to the light as spring brings us, we pray that you would put your spirit of light within us so that we might reflect it into a world that is aching from sin and distress and the darkness that comes with the disease of humanity. We pray that you would bless us with the gift of your grace, that we might expound that on all those around us. We pray that you'd have your blessings on this council as they deliberate the business of this city and the needs of its citizens. We pray all this in your holy name. Amen.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could get the roll call, please.
Ortavia.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Ford. Pearson.
Here.
Shoemaker. Oh, Berglund. Sorry, Mayor Berglund.
Here. As you'll note, Councilman Shoemaker is not here on January 21st, 2026. Councilman Shoemaker sent the following in an email. Good afternoon. Effective immediately, I would like to relinquish my council member seat for the city of Lincoln, North Dakota. While I still have the desire to make the best decisions for our city, I regrettably do not have time or have the time. It has been a pleasure working with all of you, and I'm confident you'll continue to do a great job leading our city into a prosperous and well-planned future. Now, at this point, I would need a motion to move that, for formally accepting the resignation of Councilman Shoemaker, effective immediately, and that the city council acknowledge the vacancy on the council created by the resignation.
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation of the council member seat by Mr. Shoemaker.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Davis.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Bjornstad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And if we could get the roll call, please.
Ortavia.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Okay, and then according to North Dakota Century Code, vacancies are governed by Century Code 40-13-07. My understanding is now that council may appoint a replacement within guidelines, or because we have an upcoming election within months, that we could elect to keep that vacant. His seat is one of those that is up for billings. Anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I was just trying to look up the email that we had when we had the last opening, and the council called a special election to fill the vacancy for the unexpired term. The council may, after 15 days of the date of the vacancy, appoint a person to fill the vacancy till the next city election. And then there's a petition process where the citizens can petition the city to require a special election. It's like those are the options.
Attorney, I have a question. If we do a pause or let it go for 15 days to decide, right, if we want to keep it vacant or if we want to fill it, can we do that?
Yeah, I think that I'm just looking at the statute. And it's different than the one that you cited, but the email that I'm looking at that Gavin from my office prepared in November of 24 was that, you have to give a 15-day period before you fill the vacancy, so
Okay, so we
you can't
have,
fill it by appointment
Right.
sooner than 15 days.
And what we have done after the last vacancy is allowed citizen interest forms to be
Mhm.
filled out and then interviews here at the table. Now, is there a process to just leave the seat vacant because it will be
and when is upcoming?
June? So it's a matter
Um,
of.
it would not be my recommendation that you keep the seat vacant, just because for purposes of conducting business of the council, it doesn't give you much of a margin for quorum and voting,
Okay.
but you know, again, that would be within your discretion to do that. Remind me, Councilman Shoemaker was filling the remainder of Carrie Process term. Was that up in June?
Yes.
So the appointment potentially then would be for that unexpired term, so somebody would maybe just be able to serve for a few months and then they would have to decide if they want to run for election, I guess. I was gonna say re-election, but for election.
So you don't, attorney, counsel, you don't advise us leaving that seat vacant for a few months and waiting since the election is coming for a whole new full 4 term or 2 year? Is it 2 or 4?
Just
Four, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a clear right answer, but just from the standpoint of, I think the preference in the law or the presumption would be that you would move to fill that seat because there's work that needs to be done and it spreads the work out and it helps with your quorum requirements. And it might give somebody an opportunity to serve for a few months and then decide if they want to run, which might be beneficial. It might also give someone an opportunity to serve for a few months and then build a record for why they should, the citizens should be able to keep them in or vote them out. So, I mean, my suggestion would be to see who's interested and then make a decision based on, you know, what kind of quality of the candidates making that come.
Is it a possibility to look back to those that had stepped forward previously? Or do we need to send? I suspect just to open up the floor.
I would
You
suggest.
create whatever process you want
Yeah.
for trying to figure out how to fill the vacancy. I don't recommend a special election,
No,
just because of the cost. It costs so
it would
short.
take
for-
that long.
So attorney, then
Looking
what is the process again, or do you remember, maybe deputy auditor remembers, or even mayor, the process of the interest forms going out? How, did we do that online? Put it out online, did we post it? Post where to? Yes,
We had suggested people fill out the citizen interest form. And if we had, maybe from now until the end of the month, to where we could look at filling it, maybe in the second meeting. If that, is that, oh,
For a deadline to start get the submissions in. Cause did you guys, and then you guys did you guys do interviews or something like that?
that's,
So, whatever you guys wanna put, we can get posted tomorrow.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
council, mayor, attorney, deputy auditor, I think it would be wise to get a feel anyway, if, you know, and see who's interested, because the seat's coming up anyway, so.
and just my discipline fill it. So, all right, so if we can do that, maybe put it on the website, on Facebook, book, on our Facebook. And then that notification that you had organized.
Text my phone.
Yeah.
We also have the mobile app that can do with push notifications.
And then that would give us, even if it was through January 31st, that gives us 9 days. Maybe, is that too short?
I don't think so.
When's the next council meeting? February fifth?
February 5th.
You want to do that Monday?
That would be perfect, then we can review some of them.
Yeah, and then you have to know what you want for the next.
Perfect. Thank you. Item number 5, the agenda approval.
Can I just make a notation, sorry, I was going to or sooner, but it slipped my mind. Deputy Auditor, is there a way that we can stick a little like pamphlet or just like a little flyer in the water and just stating that we have an open seat coming in for
Then
council, or is that like counterintuitive?
the bill won't go out until after.
Well, right, but it's still gonna be up in June, is my point, you know what I mean? So just stating, hey, remember. Because we don't know if this is going, be a build seat. Yeah, does that make sense?
Just a reminder that two of the council
As
seats are
equal.
opening up for reelection, so.
And that might be
Correct,
something to state at each meeting as well as a.
Should have run out.
Great idea.
Sorry.
I'll go back to item number 5, the agenda approval.
If I could, make a motion to amend the agenda to include, the RFP for prosecutorial services.
Right, and that would be under new business.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first by Councilman Bjornstad, second by Councilwoman Davis, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Post. And so moved, we will number that 13 and renumber accordingly. And then I would like to move that I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to remove item number 9, the Metron meter cost update. And to replace that with utilities and wastewater treatment facility supervisor role. And just the reason behind it is that Metron meter discussion was informational only and had never been intended for any council action. So Director Shute had asked for that to be removed. So can we entertain a motion?
I'd make a motion to remove Metron meter cost update as number 9 and replace it with utilities and wastewater treatment facility supervisor job description.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have a first by Councilman Bjornstad, second by Councilwoman Davis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. So then we would need a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
First by Councilwoman Davis,
I'll second the motion.
second by Councilman Artavia, or Councilwoman Artavia, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next, item number 6, the consent agenda, under which we have the January 8th meeting minutes, January 13th special meeting minutes, December 2025 statement, and January 26th payables.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have the first by Councilwoman Davis,
I'll second the motion.
the second by Councilwoman Artavia. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, so moved. We'll carry on to public comment period. Deputy Auditor Ermy, did we receive any email correspondence?
No, but Microsoft Outlook did go down at about 2 or something, so some people were able to send out emails and some people were not able to receive emails, and I was one that was not able to receive anything after. Like 3 months.
So if something does come in, we'll ensure that we do that. I would offer up for public comment. Please sign the sheet. And the state your name. And which agenda item I'll speak in. I think by for sure, you know.
So I just wanted to thank the opportunity to bring this back up and let us talk about it. So, obviously, I'm sure. My name is Lacey Brandt. I'm at 89 Benton Drive, and we are here to talk about chicken. So I just kind of wanted to make a couple points regarding the fact that chickens are back on discussion. So backyard chickens are allowed with reasonable limits in many larger cities in North Dakota, but yet we still restrict them here in Lincoln. It's a very small scale issue that can be addressed with very clear guidelines and processes we already have in place to report nuisances. When this was last on the ballot, we also came. She actually wore her shirt to the elections. But was just a girl who loves her chickens. But I remember watching the full results as they were coming in on one of those little live things, and I was highly disappointed in general with voting results. There was a number, and I cannot remember the exact ones, and I tried to find them before this meeting, but it was approximately 1,200 people from Lincoln came out and voted on the mayor. When you scroll down to look how many people voted on chickens, only 500 even bothered to ask. So clearly for the citizens of Lincoln, it wasn't even a high priority to mark yes or no. Those who obviously strongly felt one way or the other participated. From a practical standpoint, chickens are no louder than the dogs we already have within our community. Owners are responsible for care of their own animals, cleanliness, things like that. And again, we have a process to report if they're not. In the economy we live in and the communities we are trying to build for our children, small scale food awareness, responsibility, and self-sufficiency, are valuable lessons. I recognize that this council has the authority to change this matter directly on an ordinance. It does not require a ballot vote. However, if that is the only option that we are willing to look at, I would strongly consider or request that we at least put it on the ballot. But I also want consideration to be taken the last ballot where people did not even take the time to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Second call for public comment. Third and final call. Nothing online.
I have some on Zoom.
Old business, the City of Lincoln project updates. Jimmy Marshall.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I just want to say how nice it is to see a young person come in, even if they're too shy, but to represent and be a part of the process. That's really great. Before you, we have an update on our wastewater treatment project. Just haven't had a lot to report in the last few meetings, so this is a little extensive, but it will give you some, I guess, a view into what we've been discussing with Apex Engineering. Background information is that the city entered into an agreement with Apex Engineering Group to design the new wastewater treatment facility and replace the existing pond system. The agreement was signed on December 4th of 2025, which did result in a 3-week delay from the schedule that was proposed in that contract. So Apex does intend to stay with the original milestone dates. But some of the interim items will shift because of those 3 weeks. Geotechnical work. Apex has requested quotes from local firms for soil borings and geotechnical report. They are expecting proposals next week. The soil borings are anticipated to occur in February. Hopefully the weather allows that. And SEH previously ordered geotechnical monitoring equipment. That was approved on September 30th of 2025. This equipment had been delivered to Director Shute, so it should be included or acknowledged in their geotechnical proposals. I did share that with Ms. Olson at Apex so that she's aware of that information. Not that it got missed in translation.
So can we verify that that was delivered to Lincoln then, Director Shute? Did we get that?
I have no idea what it is.
The geotechnical monitoring equipment? Okay, I will follow up on that. Good to
Unless
know.
it's somewhere that I don't know about.
Well,
Yeah,
I
shaking his
that'd be
head, but I just
important.
wanted to verify.
Thank you for letting me know. Yeah.
I was gonna talk to you
Speak
after,
louder, please.
I was gonna talk to you after the meeting and be like, I don't think I have that.
Okay, I will follow up on that because I believe we have an invoice for that. So I will get back to you on that. And it will probably be an email follow-up. Please don't respond. But that way everyone will know what the outcome of that research would be. I did request to have a chance to review the geotechnical scopes provided from the firms so that we would be in the loop on those. Surveying, Apex has scheduled their crew to be on site this month, and dates will be finalized based on weather and staff availability. Access coordination with the city is already complete, I believe.
The locating. Mayor, council, you're referencing the line locating and everything out there that they were doing. Yeah, then they've been out there, they've done all their surveying and locating and everything. We were out there located. The only thing that I know that they were waiting on was power. We have no idea where the power comes in. We don't know where it's ran. We don't have any plans for any of that. So I did talk with the head guy that was surveying out there and told him that he might want to get a hold of Capital Electric. Have them come out and see, or have their locator come out and find it, because we have really no way to locate the power. So.
Thank you for the
That's all I
update.
got for that update.
All right. Thanks, Director Shute.
Yep.
Just to follow up on that. City would not be responsible for locating any of those electric facilities. That is on the companies themselves to come out and do those locates. So typically the survey firm would have that under control. That's a standard form of operation. But I will include that question just to confirm that they got the information needed, and if they need any help, happy to reach out. Preliminary design and treatment technology review. They have shared that Apex has initiated preliminary design work and requested expedited information from equipment manufacturers for a number of different items. The design materials have been requested by myself for review and discussion as well. With regards to the facility plan and environmental requirements, DEQ recently indicated the city must complete a whole new facility plan and updated environmental clearance documentation rather than a simple amendment. So I did note to them that in our previous discussions with DEQ, their guidance suggested that only amendment was required. So we will have to get further clarification from them. We sure don't want to have to do a whole blown plan if it's not really required. Apex did believe that this additional work, if needed, could be completed within the existing feed and performed concurrently with ongoing tasks. So that's always like thumbs up. Good to hear. Recently supporting documents that may assist in this facility plan would be the 2025 rate study technical memo and model, notice of intent, which is the North Dakota and PDES general permit amendment, amended population projections, and prior facility plan reports. We've also talked about site visits to review comparable facilities, and that is holding up some of their preliminary design. Apex is recommending a 2-day visit to the Sioux Falls area for city representatives to evaluate the treatment technology options. We're suggesting that if there is a virtual option, that we can review some of those components and items that may be an alternate to be arranged so that we're not continually holding things up. Trying to get a 2-day field trip to go look at components might be hard to get everybody on the same schedule. So we're hoping that that might be an option in regards to picking out the facilities that would work best for our community. Apex, regarding their status, is adjusted early internal milestones to align with the later contract signing date, as I had mentioned before, but does intend to keep the 100% design and construction start dates unchanged. So that's important and good to hear. No new schedule impacts are anticipated beyond that initial delay and pending site visits. And again, if we can do something to alternate, that would help them get that moving forward. I think we can work around a site visit if needed. Project meetings would be the last item to touch on. As previously noted, the city project representatives were to include Councilman Shoemaker, Director Shute, and myself. We have added another Public Works employee, and we are in discussion about who would take over the portfolio for Councilman Shoemaker, which is the Public Works portfolio. Our thought is that that person would then fill in the space on the team reviewing the project. So as we get that updated, that will be shared with Apex. And just so everyone understands that the back and forth of communication is including all those members so that everyone stays in the loop and understands what is being discussed regarding the project. Another item then with project meetings was trying to pin down a time to meet. And our thought was that those meetings would preferably take place on a Tuesday or a Tuesday the week before a city council meeting to review topics and prepare items for council decisions. So anything that comes up in those meetings, we would have time to prepare and get them into the packet. Virtual meetings are also an option and much more flexible, but we again were proposing that we do that the week before so that we have time to get items into the commission packet. That is what I had for you this evening on this item. Do you have any questions? I know it's a lot to throw at you this evening when we haven't had much to share.
Just making sure that Public Works receive that. That's one thing I have.
Thank you, everyone, and watch for my follow-up to let you know.
Perfect.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're good. Ashley is larger than me. We had a public comment versus Zoom from my Zoom.
Okay. Confirm comment to agenda.
AB, you have the attention of Madam Mayor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Second call for AB.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Should we say that to you, Ashley, so they can hear them?
Hello?
For that little.
It says they're talking, we just don't hear it.
They are unmuted, we are unmuted.
Are you able to hear me?
Is it TV movie?
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Chief.
You got it. Doing what I can.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Now they can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Is there anything you need from me, my name or anything like that?
Yes, please.
Okay, Alexis Burgard. And this is in regards to number 6 special meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Okay.
I have some concerns regarding the city auditor position. I just have some concerns. I'm just wondering as to why are we filling a part-time position? I read the notes, meeting minutes from the special meeting. Just wondering why we're filling this position from someone who lives in Taylor, North Dakota. Uh, for like mileage, if we're paying this person 83 miles to go back and forth from to and from work. I'm just kind of wondering, why are we paying someone to come to work? Round trip both ways. If we're paying them at the GSA rate of 72.5 cents a mile, that comes out to $120. So are we going to be paying them for their driving time too, for the salary? So like I said, it comes out to $120. So are we paying them that plus their salary? It's just, in my opinion, that's not a very good hire. Just kind of make better decisions, I guess. And it's from a taxpayer, City of Lincoln taxpayer, in my opinion, I just don't know if that was very well thought through. As well as a city logo, our tax dollars being spent well. And as well with the city audit, if this person only wants to work part-time, I looked over that city audit with the state auditor's office with the fine tooth comb, that 2022 to 2023 audit. There is a lot of issues with that audit. Now, if they're only going to be working part-time, how are these issues ever going to be corrected? Now with the 2024 to 2025 audit coming up, is there going to be more issues going to be coming up? I'm just wondering, how are these issues aren't going to ever be fixed if no one's going to be held accountable? I have personally witnessed myself come to meetings, watching them on Zoom, North Dakota Century Code be violated. Um, it's just, I just think there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. And it's from a taxpayer standpoint, it's quite sickening, if I had to be quite frank. And yeah, back to the city auditor position too. As well as I also read that this person wants ND PERS benefits. How is she able to get ND PERS benefits? If she wants, and in order to get ND PERS, don't you have to typically work over 20 hours in order to get full-time permanent, or don't you have to typically work 20 hours or more a week and have it to be a full-time classified permanent positions in order to get those benefits? It's just, I just think a lot of rules are being bended here and made up, and I just think century code is being violated here, and a lot of it isn't making sense to me. And I have talked to other city Lincoln residents, and there's just a lot of, I don't know.
Well, Ms. Burgard, if I can, start answering some of those questions. One, the reason that we have an interim auditor is she was the auditor prior to, and she had the same work schedule as far as the number of hours, the salary. There are many things coming up within the next 3 to 6 months that are very important to the city. We've got the wastewater treatment facility, the election cycle, we've got the audit coming, we've got the budget, all of these things that are gonna require a lot of attention, and that's not realistic to put on one person in the office. Lisa Ani has the experience. She is familiar, up to date on the activities within the city of Lincoln. And this is a 3 to 6 month interim position while we are going to be posting for an internal auditor. This is somebody that is going to be helping through the process of filling that position full time. Now, as far as the fact that she lives in Taylor, I am appreciative of the fact that she is coming into the office for those 2 days. She's going to be a great asset to the city. And council felt it important to agree to that extra mileage.
Plus she'll be working too from home.
And she will also be, so it is those 2 days. Now, as far as I see here that ND PERS, I believe that it's at 20 hours in our policy, that would be a benefit. Am I correct on that? 24? How many hours?
Part time employees, something. Any. Would be good, we know they'll get life insurance.
Yeah. We'll need to double check on that because if she's not able to.
I think isn't that, wouldn't that be something would be their decision, if they want to other benefits?
Yeah, because I know at the time that she had reached out to me, she said she does not need the medical, of course, but she does want the ND PERS. And at that time, she had a certain number of hours, and then she would be able to, so we'll double check on that, for sure, your comment.
That concludes the open public comment, Madam Mayor.
So I appreciate you reaching out. We will go on then to item number 8, the city logo poll results. Assuming that's you, Councilwoman Davis. That's all.
Alright, so the logo, and I'm gonna show it again, just in case people didn't see it. Or haven't, but it's been out there. So the graph here shows the green and then the blue, for the first one, of votes, and then the second one is, the Facebook polls, which blue, won by a good margin versus the green, and the comments about it, were in favor of the blue as well versus the green. So the app, right, the Lincoln app, so the green on the Lincoln app got 3 votes and the blue got 9. And then, there is a total for the likes For the green one, the picture got 21 likes and then the blue one got 58 likes, so. You can kind of determine who is liking what with those fun little polls. On my perspective as a council member and, as a resident, I definitely like the green and yellow just because of grass and it reminds me of summer. So I'm in favor of the green one for sure. Comments by council?
What are the wishes of council?
I guess I honestly don't like either one of them. With the results from polls that we got and public comment on it. I guess I'd probably be more in favor of the blue one since that's what clearly seems to be what we prefer.
I personally like the green one better, but I think we have to go with what people are saying they like best.
And what I had seen is a lot of equating Lincoln with the green or with the blue for Lincoln Lightning.
Yes.
And you know, we were told the green is the grass, the yellow is the sunburst, but I would agree.
I think they pretty look very nice.
The blue and yellow remind me of a certain flag, but you know. But it does definitely go well with the school colors, that's for sure.
And I think Lincoln, the city name stands out more. With
Yes,
green.
well,
I personally like the green, but yeah, it stands out a little bit. So what are the wishes then of council?
I would make a motion to approve the yellow and blue logo as the new city of Lincoln logo.
We have a first by Councilman Bergstedt,
I'll second the motion.
second by Councilwoman Natalia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? If we could get the roll call, please.
Natalia?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
All right, so we have a new city logo. And we will move on to item number 9. I have included copies of a draft. And Director Schuth, if you would like to come up in case there are any questions for you. I just give you a little background. Director Schuth and Brandon Goldaddy had requested a meeting to discuss the value of creating the utility and wastewater treatment facility supervisor position now. And as the wastewater project continues to develop, it's important that we have that role involved in all aspects of developing, putting everything together, creating that. Additionally, the public works director isn't going to realistically be able to supervise all the projects going on within the city. So that activity, that expertise, he's always had certifications, he's going to be instrumental in all of that. So we are requesting a new position, and that to be the utilities and wastewater treatment facility supervisor. That person, and this is just rough, but it gives you an idea of what that position is going to entail. Overseeing the daily operations of that treatment facility. They're going to have to comply with an EDUQ, the EPA requirements, maintaining operator certifications, using permit compliance, monitoring, reporting, the treatment processes, all listed out here. And I did that the final structure would then come after that city manager is hired to kind of solidify what that role and responsibility would be. And then so I would entertain a motion to create that position of utility wastewater treatment facility supervisor within the Public Works Department, with the compensation to be finalized in accordance with the city step and grade plan once that is completed. And then to forward this draft description that, we kind of worked on here. 209, for inclusion in the stepping road plan.
Mayor, did you say which public works or just, a position, right? Do we have a person in mind already for this position?
Yes, Brendan Goldaddy
I
is
wasn't sure if
already
you stated that.
certified. Oh, okay, yeah, he is, has been intended to be, he does have the certifications. And it's just, putting that position in play now versus 2 years from now, because he's gonna be fulfilling those duties now as that plant is being, built and working with, engineering and Apex to get all of that in line. He's got his certifications, he was, supervising a staff that will likely be hired after the fact because it needs to assist.
Director, doesn't, Brandon GoDaddy have the supervisor position or title right now, or no?
No.
Okay.
And this would be creating a new position, so it needs council approval.
And
Position.
these roles aren't necessarily new to GoDaddy, because he's basically been doing that type of work in line of work since he's been here.
Yes.
So it's basically just changing the title with maybe a little change of the compensation.
But not at this time. But not at this time. He is aware that we're
Right.
going through a 7th grade. And he had said in the meeting that he is understanding that that would have to work.
I make a motion to entertain,
Sorry, could we just hear from you on this also, Director Schutz, please? Share thoughts and, okay.
Basically what my thoughts are, I initially reached out to Councilman Shoemaker and the mayor to set up a meeting to discuss this. And, well, being Landis stepped down, I had a meeting with the mayor and we just basically discussed how I'm basically at my wit's end back there with doing all the project stuff, dealing with all the stuff that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Plus then I have to keep all of those guys doing something all day long. So it's basically, I asked for this so that way I could get help in managing the guys and when I'm gone, basically, if I can take a day off. Because right now, if I take a day off, I get phone calls, everything all day long, asking what to do. What do you got? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And I'm trying to take a day off. So basically, I just wanted to have help, a supervisory position, so it could help me not lose my mind, basically.
Because the initial position that you had requested was deputy public works director. And so the conversation went from that.
Right.
Because that wouldn't necessarily be what that position entailed, because Brandon would then end up going over to wastewater. So because it's utilities included in that, it would be utilities and the wastewater, which would then take on some of this duties and directorship.
and Director Council, Mayor, wasn't it previously talked about you, looking into supervisor position per se, period, for Public Works previously? So I mean, it would just solidify a good supervisor position, even though it's stating wastewater and utilities. It's got that nice supervisor position too.
Yeah, well, and the utilities part is basically for back in our shop, helping me out is basically the utilities part, but then he would be managing the wastewater facility first and foremost, and then he would come back and help me back in the shop and basically be there when I'm gone and help me do paperwork and stuff like that I need any kind of help with like that. So basically right now it's just he would be the utility supervisor and wastewater treatment would be the going on helping with Apex and the engineerings and all that stuff with the wastewater treatment plant, putting in his 2 cents on all of that and kind of what would go well with what we're gonna be doing and everything, so, but as of like, that's what we discussed on that with not just giving him a supervisor position in public works. We would also put in the wastewater treatment because he's gonna be involved in all of that until it's up and running. He's gonna be making decisions, he's gonna be looking over the paperwork and everything, so. We just thought it would be nice to give him that title right now because he's basically gonna be into it here in the near future. So,
You for a while already, so thanks recognition too.
well, yeah, and he's been going above and beyond on everything. And he is just, right now, he's just an operator. Like, he is no different than anybody else back there. But he takes over all of my job duties when I'm gone. He fills out the paperwork, he talks to the contractors, he talks to everybody that and the office has to give hold of public works, he's the first one that they call, so. Basically, he's just been kind of doing it all, and he's no different than any of the other people back there, so he's really kind of stepped up, and I just kind of think he deserves it, so.
Well, and the position doesn't start on day one of being up and running. It starts now in that planning process. That's really important to bring forward.
Right.
And so just for my understanding, you're still gonna be intricately involved in the entire process.
Yes.
Still making judgments and decisions as the director.
Yes, it would just be like, I'm gonna be at every single meeting, I'm gonna be having my input on everything. It would just give his knowledge of all the wastewater, cause he is a class 2 wastewater treatment operator right now. So he has more knowledge than I do on any of that. So, he's actually a water distribution operator class 3 and a wastewater collection operator class 3, and I'm not even that. I don't even have a wastewater treatment.
But you.
Nothing, so,
Yeah.
so, I mean, he's more certified than I am in all of the departments back there, so.
For what time, your slot.
Well, I have tried to give him the phone, he does not want it.
Do we need a motion then for council?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we did have a first by Councilwoman Davis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Bjornstad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we could get the roll call for the development of the vote.
Natalia?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes. Okay, and then I would also like to forward the draft description that is in the packets to both lines. And I don't know if I gave, I printed them off, so just before the meeting, I will email a copy of that to you also. All right, any other questions, thoughts? Okay, we'll carry on to item number 10. And that is status update and determination. Discussion and clarification of the previously considered deputy auditor stipend related to an anticipated city auditor vacancy, announcement of the appointment, and start date of city auditor. No action is recommended. Auditor Ani will be on site approximately 50 to 60% of the week, working the 2 of the 4 scheduled days. Now the office is open, and the current staff of 3 alternates those Fridays. So it's that 2 of the 4 days versus 4 of the 4 days with working those additional hours remotely. The current staff arrangement doesn't create a vacancy or result in a shift of authority. That authority comes from the deputy or from the auditor, delegated to the deputy when needed. And the duties of the auditor haven't changed. So while future delegation of certain tasks might occur, no reassignments taken place. Again, no vacancy in auditor position, no change in assignment duties or authorities. And I am withdrawing this item from further consideration. With no motion before the body. And we can move on to the next agenda item, which would be the chicken ordinance discussion. Councilman Garrison.
So I asked for this to be put onto the agenda because I've had, those few people reaching out to me. I honestly have no horse in this race, so to speak, but with how close the previous election was, they asked for us to consider putting it on the ballot for this coming summer, I guess. They had concern that they felt that a lot of people maybe didn't have a clear indication as to what all were the limitations on the previous ballot as far as the number of chickens, types of chickens, etc. I don't believe that this is something that we as a council should vote to put into ordinance due to the last election results. But I would have no objection if we would want to have this on the ballot one more time with how close the previous one was, just to see if any more members of the community would like to voice their opinion on this. As was said in the public comment, there was very little vote on it in the last election. So I guess I would be in favor of having it on the ballot one more time, but I would like to hear from the rest of council. So
Can I just, my understanding was that when it was on the ballot, it was basically like a straw vote. It wasn't put on the ballot as if the citizens passed it, the law would change. I believe what was done is was put on the ballot of, do you want the council to change the rules for him to check? I believe that's correct. I don't think that it was put on as like a referred measure. I think that what we were tasked to do was they want to just have a stop. So I mean, that's why I'm asking was that's what you're have in mind as well, or you gonna find an actual resolution that if it's passed, it will become.
essentially what was asked of me was straight up to what was done at the last. So if that's the case, then it would be the same process, basically, to find out from the community, do you want your council to actions that on this?
Because I think that's what. Sure, that's what.
I'm not opposed for it being on the ballot and letting them choose again. I'm not opposed to any residents having it. Just don't have it in our ordinance yet.
And I want to note, the fact that with the comments that I've seen online is, include, this has been multiple times, it's not wanted, it's voted down. We have pets running at large, dogs and cats, and now we have chickens and the frustration there. I don't like the, us making the decision here. But if it's going to be, what did you call it, attorney straw vote, that isn't a vote for a change in ordinance, is it typical for us to vote on ordinances? Or is it a struggle for us to then come and create an ordinance?
So the power to amend the code sits with the council. So I can't remember under the home rule charter. I know we looked at this before. I don't know if under the home rule charter there was a referral process where you would, where the citizens would put a change in the ordinance on the ballot, and then if it passes, it I guess a referendum, it becomes the new ordinances city. can't remember if that's enshrined in, even, you know, if you look at what's going on with the school lunch program on the state level, right, it's an initiative measure by the citizens. They fill out petitions and then it goes to a vote, right? I don't know if that's enshrined in for the city to do or not in some of the charter or the rules. I think it might be, but that's not what the city did the last time. The citizens come and say, we want this on the ballot, and that's fine. It was more that one of the council members, I think, had drafted a chicken ordinance, if I'm is correct, that would have changed the law, and then probably wasn't support for that to actually change the ordinances, and so the compromise was, let's put it out as a straw vote to see where public opinion is. And then, of course, that would not be binding on the city, which is basically getting, you know, the vote, basically, to get you a feel for what the citizens want. And it might be a process where the citizens really felt strongly about it, that they could initiate a change to the ordinance. I just can't remember right now what that process is, but
Can they petition?
it would be, I think, an initiative measure for the city ordinances.
Right.
And I don't think it's in your code, but it might be in the North Coast Century Code. I just can't.
Can we ask for that?
Yeah, and I think what the challenge is, it's an initiative measure. You kind of have to have the whole piece of code done, with all of the, you know, what all of the choices are that you want to make about what are the, if you have chickens, how many, what's the, like, all of the regulations that you want, you're gonna have to maybe put in place, or at least enough of them to not cause a problem. But yeah, I could look into that and let you know what the process is. I think for putting it on the ballot as a straw poll, you just do that. If you want to put it on the ballot as a, if the citizens vote yes, it becomes the law. If they vote no, then the law stays the same. And then I think it's a different process, but I'll report that.
Okay.
I do have a question as far as timeline on that goes. I know for people who want to run for a position, they have to have their paperwork, their signatures and everything in so many days before the election, which actually, if I'm not mistaken, is sometime then. Do you know if there's any, like, if we would have a particular cutoff time that we would have to have this?
I will find that all out and I'll work on this tomorrow, so I'll determine whether or not there's a process and just cut off. If it looks like we're ready, because I'll let you know.
Oh,
Okay.
The one question I do have too then is, you know, this has come up multiple times with the consensus of no. Does it keep coming forward? Is there a number of times before we require a petition? You know, with the residents, or how does that?
The straw poll is really just whatever the council wants to do, because it doesn't bind me to fact. As far as the citizens' ability, I'll look into that. Right? But my understanding is that if that process is available, as long as they met the petition requirement, you can keep putting the same thing on the ballot.
So just ask them, like the
Or they tell they run out of energy to do it, right? So I don't think there's a restriction. I think the only restriction in law is if something is put into law through a referral, then the council has a limited ability to make changes or take up. I have to refresh my recollection of how it's.
That's just like with the whole cannabis, right? I think that's been on the ballot for 8 years continuously. They keep talking about it, so.
And I would be interested to hear more about the petition process and if that would be the best, you know, course of action for citizens who feel that that's what they would like to do and see on the ballot. I'm interested in hearing more.
Yeah, the advantage of the petition process is somewhat what somebody commented about, which is people didn't know what the specifics were. So if it might be that if you said, you know, you can have 3 chickens, backyard chickens, right? But if you could have 3 chickens, people might be say, okay, well, that would be okay. On the other hand, what the proposal was is you could have 20 chickens. And people would be like, well, I'm voting, and so the specifics might actually thrive one way or the other, and without the specifics, the information. A straw poll might not be very helpful because it doesn't have because I'm assuming, I remember what the proposal was. Then they're like, okay, you're gonna allow chickens, and what is the proof requirement? There's not to be fences, right? I mean, it spawns additional questions that if you were writing a new ordinance, you want to like address all of these concerns about how you're gonna what are the standards you're going to use to regulate people having chickens? It might not just be as simple as saying you're allowed to have.
Well, I like that there's an established path with the petition. It's, it's the correct course of action in my site as it sits. For us to be able to hear, citizens on both sides of the view. And that they should pay attention if they want to have a petition to exactly how that should be worded. And how they want to proceed with that. I think it would be a good way for us as council to hear both sides. One side saying, we said, no, we're clearly against it, we don't want to hear about it anymore. The other side saying, well, we're not done talking about it. And here's what we're proposing, let us be specific and, make that determination.
Yeah, and one disadvantage of initiative measures with citizens, right? The text of what they want is if they're not sophisticated, if some of us home.
Well, that would come to you though.
Well, no, but I mean, if it's an.
No, if it's a citizen though.
Oh,
If it's an initiated measure, right, then they'll come and it could come and say, here's the language that we want in our code. And, that's the language that goes on the ballot, and if it's passed and it has problems, then that can be difficult as well. But let me look into what those options are, and I'll just do 3-4 paragraphs. Here's what I think the law is that governs this, and then that should guide from a timing standpoint, and also kind of what you guys want to do. And maybe the compromise might be where we work to draft what we think it should look like, and then put that completed product on the ballot. That might be the middle ground.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
No, not on that one, but I would like to revisit number 10.
Okay.
So we're, as a council, we're willing to not do anything? Or are we willing to look into this, compromise, talk, discussion? Council?
Yeah, it's,
I,
that this was something more that we were getting, so. Proceed.
well, I had brought it and I was withdrawing that. And the fact that we have somebody in to alleviate the reason for that initial request. That is the reason I was withdrawing that. There is, and then in my an earlier email, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you all got my memo on this. It really doesn't address whether you want to do you want to make a change in the conversation or not. It's just how you do it, right? And our analysis is that it should not be what's called the site of the reasons that I outlined, and the problem is when you have an employee who is eligible for overtime, and then you pay that employee a stipend, and it really muddies the water as to whether or not that stipend is used in computing the base wage. So for instance, if an employee has a $10 an hour base wage and they work 41 hours on that 41st hour, they get 5 times a half, which would be $15 an hour. So now that's very clean, right? $10 an hour, time and a half is. if you're paying a stipend, which is not associated with any kind of expense, you're just paying a stipend, what that really looks like is you're paying an additional amount to the hourly wage. And if the employee goes into overtime, that should be included. And if you don't include it, I think the city then becomes at risk for a wage and hour claim or something else, which we don't recommend. So the purpose of the memo the email that I sent is not commenting at all on whether or not you should take action or change compensation or anything like that. It's how you do it. Our recommendation is that if, with any of your employees, if you are intending to compensate them additionally, and then they're an hourly employee, you should do it by changing the hourly rate. Right, and then that has, it's different from the stipend in that, then that also affects an overtime rate and it affects the taxes and everything else that you're paying. But that's what we think the legal way of doing it should be. Right? So that's my only comment, is that if you take action, you should do it in the form of
A salary.
an increased hourly rate. There's some ability to maybe look at bonuses, but the problem with bonuses and you maybe saw this in the paper with the state investment board, right, is that the city needs to always be mindful that it can't be giving what could be arguably classified as a gift, right? So again, if it's not targeted or a retention bonus or something that's very specific, then that creates some, I don't think it's as plans with some risk, but our recommendation is just straightforward. If you decide you want to add additional compensation to anything, it's really in the hourly rate that it makes it very clean.
And what I would say to that is, we had approved the 10% last year. Then the temporary 5% that was supposed to expire December 31. And just kind of to put this into perspective, there and I am so thankful and appreciative of the work. But we have a department head. Well, the hourly rate currently is over $2 more an hour than at least one department head. And if we start providing extra pay or increasing pay or doing the job duties, then, you know, that internal equity, how do we tell Public Works that we appreciate you doing your job and putting in those extra hours? You're gonna get time and a half, but we're gonna give you more.
Well, we went through all positions though, and we helped catch them up because they were so far behind and they didn't get raises for a very long time, those positions. It wasn't the person, it wasn't the title, it was the position that we had to finally catch up. So the raise from last year too was also because of all the extra stuff that was added on with all the other transitions that we were going through.
Right, but we've got a second grade going on right now to
Correct.
find out where we are.
Correct.
Do we have $32+ an hour going up to what, 34, 35? I don't know what that number is expected to be. So, but what my intent when I brought this forward was because of the sole responsibility being a person. That is not the issue anymore. Now that person is doing the same role as previous. So,
well, but still is doing catch up because Tanya's not in-house, right? And Lisa's not in-house yet. So we still have deputy auditor picking up a lot of slack.
for those 3 weeks, yes.
Correct.
But, you know, like Director Schitt had said, he also has his hours and working coming extra. So if we're going to do that, then are we going to then provide that same thank you to each of the departments?
Well, I totally understand, and I get where you're coming from. I just wanted to bring this back up because I wanted to have a discussion on it. And I totally understand the 7th grade is coming up, so we get to reevaluate and see where all the position heads are at. And we're still playing catch up. We're not gonna be where we want them to be. There's gonna be many roles and positions that should be, I believe, a lot higher pay, but again, with where we're at and how far back the salaries have been, meaning those positions didn't get raises yearly or quarterly like reevaluations should have been taking place. So the city of Lincoln is still playing catch up on all those roles, and I just wanna make sure, and again, we could be talking about many different department heads about this situation, because a lot of them go above and beyond and do way more than what their position is written on paper. But again, I just wanted to go back and bring that up and talk about.
Any other discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item or agenda item 12, the 2026 council priorities. This was an initial discussion for identifying and providing the direction for key goals, projects, and policy priorities for 2026. As we discussed a little bit last meeting, for 2025, they were zip code, comprehensive plan, wastewater, and updating those ordinances. And a comprehensive plan that has been is being worked on, with something likely in February coming to council. The zip code, we found out that you can't have an appeal without significant reason. With the new development coming in, the streets are named the same as Bismarck, so that's giving us that in. 2nd Street, 3rd Street, 8th Street, and things like that.
The numbers.
Right, so that, you know, I would say that would be something good to keep on for 2026. Anything that ordinances are obviously something that we need to be working on. Anything that within the portfolios that you would see a need for you to focus on this year?
I know office Ashley and attorney have been talking about like the behind bills, right? Delinquent bills. So I think maybe we could come up, talk with maybe attorney one-on-one or something, or if he has any ideas, or even Ashley too, of maybe a smoother system, or how we can keep up on that so that we don't have so many at once, you know what I mean, if that makes sense. And then with the beautification, right? A process with that, but we need to definitely get a good process going. And I know there is one, and we have been doing pretty good, but we've just gotten a little bit behind. So maybe just touch up base with that one again with council too.
And I think to note, the hard work that she has put into getting those reviews for the development council. It's been great.
And if I could just comment on that, just because we talked about it briefly, I think 2 meetings ago. So, I want to do some due diligence on the election side. And I think we're in a place now where the next step will be to contract with one of the debt collection agencies to. We give them the data and make a lot of calculate percentage, and so we're working on that part. So that that is the first step, is to deal with the ones that are in place now. Second part of the plan is most municipalities or some municipalities have in their ordinances that if you don't pay utility bill, it becomes an assessment property. So it makes the property owner ultimately the backstop of any kind of unpaid municipal bill, and then it becomes a special assessment, which ultimately becomes the so that will be the next thing that I will look to, is like what the code changes we need to get that in place. And then the third thing is that I mentioned is the trailer park. When that was annexed in, there was a mediation meeting where they were supposed to backstop the utility bills. That never got converted into a more formalized agreement, and now that has changed hands. And so I'm going to reach out to them and have a conversation with them about what that should look like. And one of the options, again, if we put in place an assessment property that will maybe solve the problem, but I want to have a conversation with them just to see whether they will stand behind what Kevin proposed as part of that mediation team, which was the city would take certain steps to cut the tenant, and then if those 6 steps were not successful, then we would go to them, and then ultimately they would be responsible for get paid or something. So I have a plan for that. I just don't have it at the point to really change. I think we can streamline that and become a little more sophisticated on a home basis.
Perfect, thank you. I have one more that I'll lump into that beautification. I did get a few messages from residents about abandoned homes and not maintain yards, and what the process is and what the city could even do, right? I think it's the homeowner, right, that is ultimately, but if it's abandoned, then what? So just something for us to think about, look into. Thank you, that's all.
So we'll make those on.
Nothing particular for the police department, but I can definitely have a conversation with the chief to see if he has anything that would be particular goals he'd like to see under the fruition.
Item 13, the RFP.
That's me. So as you recall, we got city received a kind of a letter of interest from Department Law Office about bringing prosecutorial work, city attorney work, and I was tasked with the RFP to see if it might be possible to have that work done on a more efficient cost less basis than what we're able to offer. I used the RFP that the city of Fargo, it's a lot more condensed, but I think that it's worth pursuing with the idea that in the perfect world, maybe the prosecutorial work could be done on a flat fee, X amount per month. I'm not sure if it can be done that way, but I think that would be something to strive for. So I guess what I'm asking for is for your approval, and then also for a deadline for when you would want to receive the RFPs. And then I think we would work with the auditor's office to publish once or twice, maybe just like a summary saying City of Lincoln has an outstanding RFP, and you can get more information from the auditor. But there's a couple of spots here that probably I need to work with the auditor to get completed. But I think this would probably, if we got the information that's being requested, he would put you in a good position to evaluate how to staff that.
Perfect.
So, for us to read over it, come back, and then set up a meeting. Do we do anything with this, or?
Well, I mean, I guess that was my ask would be to approve it and then set a deadline for the RFP. So, assume it's going to take us a week to 10 days maybe to get it published, and And that puts us in, so maybe by
Middle
the
of February,
middle of March or something.
okay,
Whatever you guys think, right?
and the timeframe.
It's not time sensitive that we have this.
No.
Do we want to
It's
use
just something that we can for a possible change.
So March 13th, April 1st.
March 15th, I think would be good, middle of the month then.
We should look to see what day that is before we.
This is true,
So, yeah,
we had to make it be a Saturday. Make it a 15.
15th is a Saturday, so why don't we do the Friday the 13th?
Oh,
Okay.
You wish.
it was like. We like Friday the 13th, come on. So I'd make a motion to entertain the RFP proposal. And then have a deadline for it to be posted and published by March 13th.
I'll second.
February,
And to just specify that the deadline for
Friday,
submitting proposals is deadline is the proposals March.
March 5th.
Okay, gotcha. So I'll make, resend that motion.
To approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the RFP. How about that? Perfect.
Okay, we have a first by Councilwoman Davis, a second by Councilman Bjornstad. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? We can have a roll call, please.
Martavia,
yes,
Davis,
yes,
Aaronson,
Yes.
I wrote down Friday, March and, read it out as February, March.
I'll work with the auditor.
Thank you.
Right, and, before we go on to your report. When, do we at this table need to approve the promotion of Brandon Goldaddy to that position, or is that?
I think we're waiting for second grade, right?
The pay part of it.
Right.
Yes, but the promotion, I believe, was something that was asked for now. Understanding that there will be no, pay,
Right, didn't we make that motion?
right, but not the promotion itself,
The motion was to create.
the job,
Gotcha.
right? So, and I don't know if that's within what we would be doing, or if that would strictly be.
It's my understanding that in our policies that the council can have insight into. I would be of the opinion that the department heads should have the say as to what promotions are within the department. So in my opinion, I would leave it up to Director Schuler.
I would agree with that, just because that's how it goes with every other entity and organization that has make them, and they work with them. So,
Well, and I just wanted to put it out there, so it was
well,
part of record. That we discussed that part of it, because I don't know if it was really that way, or if we have to do something, so. All right, thank you. Now, agenda 14, the attorney report.
The work on the jail contract. That's what you'll be able to have, I don't know if the chief is watching, but we'll have something be done. To take that to the pension center and really trying to address two issues. So the city contracts with pension center, so if the city is some rest and person needs to be paying, they premium to the pension center and stuff. We have a contract where we pay for that care. The contract has an indemnification provision requiring us to indemnify the detention center under certain circumstances, and I want to make sure that we either have insurance for that or that be removed. And then there's also a provision where the city is asked to be responsible for the medical expenses for our inmates that we take there. And I want to make sure that we are only responsible to the extent the law requires us to be responsible. And so I'm trying to do some of the research on what our responsibility is and talk to the chief a little bit about that, so. Have that finished and bring to the council for the next meeting, hopefully, we might have to do some back and forth tensions then. I had a conversation with Scott Solomon today about the exclusion petitions. As you may recall, the issue with the exclusion petitions has to do with the fact that this property has been platted. And so his office is setting up a meeting with the surveyor so that they can show me what they think the vacation plats will look like. And so hopefully we'll have more for you on that at the next meeting. And then I'm still trying to get my mind around what needs to happen with the assumption agreement that the city was not the same as far as what parts of the water line that feeds that second meter we should retain control over, and what parts we should cede to the city or make the city of Bismarck take. And I'm enlisting some help from SCH because it's not really just a question, it's more of an engineering, public works kind of question. And I can't figure it out, so that's what we'll have with that. So hopefully we'll have more for you at the next meeting.
And then that would also impact the cost share proposal that.
Yeah, the plan is to make a pitch to the city of Bismarck, which is one is we want the city to, which we've already made this decision, but to help contribute to the cost share for the repair of the leak last spring. And then the second part is the city wants from Lincoln us to sign an assumption agreement, which would turn over to the city of Bismarck portion of that water line put in, which is again, I think always intended. But I think those two things go hand in hand, and we should have discussion in both at the same time. And then that will help clarify whose responsibility before the meter, whose responsibility it is if there's another leak. Obviously I'm calling Lincoln side of the meter, that's going to be ours, or the city of Lincoln's, but on the Bismarck side of the meter, we just need to have an understanding of what we need to have responsibility for our needs and what the rest should be maybe all assumed by the city of Bismarck.
Thank you. Questions from John? Thank you. Anything else?
I've got some other things with the pill collecting that I talked about, so I'll have more feeling on that.
Thank you. Okay, we'll carry on with our portfolios. Councilman Nartani, to report.
You should each have an invoice in your packet from Electronic Communications Incorporated. Last fall, the police department got the vehicle, and this is for bringing the electronics into the new vehicle. It was all part of the approved budget, but since it's over $17,000, it requires council approval to confirm payment on them. So I would make a motion to approve payment for invoice 108024 from Electronic Communications.
First, Councilman Grimsley. I'll second the motion. Second by Councilman Montalia. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And if we could give the roll call, please.
Artagia,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Berenson,
Yes. And the only thing beyond that was, this week I was able to spend a little time in the office working on the product risk assessment. Have some good notes taken down on that, and hopefully weeks I'll be able to spend a little bit more time to finish up a few other questions I might have with the practices and the way some things are performed, and get that concluded.
Councilman Davis.
I have yet to set up my project assessment meeting, so well, just pop in. I don't really have to set it up, but I have yet to do that, so that is on my agenda still. Like I said, last meeting, we got some new desks, so I think everybody is now pretty comfy with where they are and comfortable with their new spaces and their new desks. What?
25 to 26.
25 to 26?
We flipped all our,
Yes, yes, yes. We are now on 26 files for everything. And we stored away all the 25 files, so. Yeah, we definitely are transitioning, in the office with the auditor's, position and deputy auditor's position, so. We're having fun. That's all I got.
Okay, Director Shin, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say with my portfolio being done, I just wanted to mention that we did I named the plow of the 5th grade class, and it came back that the motor grader is now named the Blizzard of Oz. So, and we have a sticker that is on it, and I am setting up a date and a time to be able to go over with that and get a picture with the 5th grade class. So, when that happens, we'll post it on our Facebook and everything like that. So,
Is that the whole bit, right?
yeah, the whole 5th grade. So,
That's exciting.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
thank you.
Let you guys do that. Now they did. Director Shin said now they need more equipment, so you can name.
You're just gonna have to change the name every year, because the 5th graders are gonna have to be like, hey,
Well-
they got you last year, so now it's our turn.
We're just going through all of it, and then once we run out, we'll just take that one off and start over with making our rounds again. So,
Pretty soon you'll have a lot more.
yeah, right.
Under my portfolio, first is North Dakota League of Cities, the elected officials training, March 18th and 19th. So you can go on their website and do that. I had and just sent the invoice to the city. Statement of interest is due January 31st, but that is put in your packets. One of the things that I keep hearing is the audit findings and where we are in the process of getting this taken care of. I would like to put out there maybe having a monthly update. A status update as to where we are in the process. I understand that, you know, the previous audits, the findings of those, because that was years ago, you know, it's not gonna be fixed that next year because it was still within that audit cycle. So, just to ease the community with their questions. And then posting for that permanent auditor position next week after the interim auditor is on site starting next week. Then the auditor and the deputy auditor can kind of work on streamlining what those duties consistent with the auditor responsibilities when there is a city manager. Get that put out there. But because we do not have Mr. Schumacher, we have our opening then as far as the portfolio for Public Works. We have a lot going on this year. I know that we'll have a new council member coming on, but I think it's important that we keep this going. As far as maybe the know-how, the background within Public Works. So my thought process was to ask you, Councilman Bernstein, to take on that portfolio because you do have background and had been initially part of the process. If that's something that you would consider.
Yeah, no problem with that.
Okay, and then
You have to teach them that get caught up a little bit on. Making that might not be aware of right there.
although you don't.
You're changing hats on us?
And so you might be part of that group then that she had mentioned, so if you would provide with Apex, then Councilman Goodstead. Mr. Schumacher. Yeah, Shoemaker. Yes. And So then that would leave your portfolio open. And Councilwoman Artavia, that was your portfolio prior to, so if you would step in now, understanding that this would be temporary, you know, possibly, maybe not for you. But I, come July, when those portfolios out. So if that works, then we can all work together on anything with education that comes up, but then major bit. Things settled, so, okay, well, that worked. Just perfect, so. If you will reach out then to. The police chief. So. Share that information with him. So, auditor report.
You kind of covered the statement of interest that's due by January 31st. Even if you're not running next year or you're there for 25, gotta have them. Once the population becomes to over 5,000, then we also have to do the financial part of it. As of not this time. We're looking into doing an inside drop box for payments instead of the one that's been outside. Had its fair share of weathering and anything, so Ashley's been calling and looking at quotes for that. Not necessarily looking at breaking through the wall of the building, but maybe placing something inside the door and leaving the front door unlocked as the other ones are secure locked. Just kind of getting some ideas and options for that. And then Bold Minds, I've been in contact with Braxton. She's got all the job descriptions. I'll send her the new one. She asked a few questions. So if you guys are wanting apples to apples, meaning small city to small city, she's given me a list of 7 cities that she wants you to approve of. If you're wanting to go with apples to, I don't know, care what fruit you call it, basically small towns that have a competition of a larger town next to them. Then it would be, she wants you to pick 4 of the small cities, and then she'll present to me 4 of the larger cities to take as comparisons. She also asked for our base, our minimum, and our maximum for each job description, which I told her we don't have. As far as I know, the city of Lincoln has never had. We've had base beginnings or startings, and gone from then it's just been raises for cost of living or by merit increase. So that's another decision for you guys to make if you want to create those yourself and have your state what your minimum is and state what your maximum is, or if you want her to draw a conclusion from the other communities.
Well, I think we're paying them for their expertise.
That was kind of my thought, that.
They usually get their minimum and maximums when they do these.
We had talked earlier, when I had mentioned an increase for a staff, that maybe we should look at a minimum of 25.
Meaning what?
$25 an hour as a base start rate.
Minimum period for all around, like.
All the way across, as, you know, so we don't want her looking at something less than $20 an hour.
And her, are we talking about a specific position or any?
No. The Bold Minds,
Gotcha, okay.
the 7th grade, right?
Well, when you say position, I go straight to.
Do we think there would be any positions in the future that would be below the $25, like,
If-
or people like or something.
Oh, which we do.
Our janitorial's on monthly, not an hourly.
Well, and I don't think office is up that high,
No, she's not.
so we. Does that mean
Your public works starts at 2250 and 23 with the CDL, the office started at 2150 and the
Right.
police department starts at 25.
So just leave it those three numbers. In.
Just put it at 20 as I think of number. That's a little help. With the expectation that right there, that will.
That would allow that flexibility if we have a hard time.
If you're gonna start everybody off at 25, it's gonna make it a little bit harder for the step in grades. You're gonna have too many people, you know. When you're gonna start somebody on what step they are, but what grade they're gonna be, it's gonna be overlooked. Won't be a fair comparison, I don't think.
Right, so
So drop it down to 20 then? Or 20, 21?
McDonald's is hiring.
so
Yeah, I know.
why don't we just?
I mean,
leave the
21
numbers
was
from
what we started our
our
admin
budget?
and that was the lowest one. That's what we budgeted. Was 21 was the lowest.
So if we use the numbers that we use during budget season
For your base.
for those bases,
Correct.
and then she
And I-
would come back and say whether she thought that was low.
She wants the numbers, she wants to work with the numbers that you give her. I told her because we've never had a minimum and a maximum. And that I just did mine off of 20 steps. That gave you your mid and that gave you your max when I did it. So, you know, she can, and then she can, you know, based on the information and she gets from other communities, give that comparison. I said I didn't, that if it was gonna take you guys to pick a minimum and a maximum, they might be waiting a couple of weeks to get the result.
And we'll just start with the base.
So, anyway, so then I do need to know if you wanna do apples to apples, small town to small town, or if you wanna do small town to larger town.
Can I comment on that? Just. I think you need to be careful with picking small towns that are growing. I think one of the challenges that Lincoln has is that it's a list, you know, Lincoln is growing, and so if you pick a few other similarly sized city that's
Little statement.
yeah, I mean, you got a lot of development going on. It seems to me not compared, but I mean, I throw that out there. Think about that because it affects how much engineering services you're consuming, how much legal services you're consuming, how much work your auditor's going to have to do, right? How much staffing. You need.
So
It's a
compare
difference
small to
between
big.
Growing city next to Bismarck than it is being a small town in Beulah or someplace else that is. I shouldn't keep saying Beulah and stuff, I just get mad at me. But you look at a similar sized city that isn't having the kind of development, the same kind of amount of development growth. Okay?
And Morris could be a good place because they have a lot to grow.
So she has Belfield, North Dakota, Belfield, South Dakota, Hillsborough, North Dakota, Forest, North Dakota, L'Oreal, Montana, Lennox, South Dakota, Surrey, North Dakota. Those are the 7 smalls that she was in comparison to our populations and area size. I did tell her.
Yeah,
that
Hillsborough
pick
is really small.
Just
Very similar.
Said that you guys went all and visited there and that was definitely one in comparison. I don't know about Hillsborough, I know that they.
Hillsborough, the cost of living here is outrageous.
You're right, but they just also got that cattle eating and the dairy permission for.
The elevator also started on fire too recently.
So I don't know if that really is, rural Belfield, I think is more
They're-
just a oil country. I don't know for sure.
It's hard to be competitive with that.
Hillsborough School, I think, one, kind of by like Devil's Lake by Fargo.
It's between Fargo and Grand Forks, East Pasco.
Just west of the state of
Is it? My sister-in-law lives there. Their whole school could fit into one classroom.
You don't ask anybody from Hillsborough when they come to town, it's on the river. I know. Yeah, so then, okay, so we wanna say Hillsborough's out? Yes. Belfield,
I mean, it's a Bakken boom, right? I don't think it's really booming necessarily now, so I don't know if it's a fair assessment.
That's my concern too, it's just like the housing prices, I think it's important to pay attention to that too.
Well, it's, yeah, way higher too because of the region. So I'd say no.
Belfush, South Dakota. Just before you get to Sturgis.
I think that might be a good one. Yeah, leave that one. I think that would.
Yeah, Ashley, he was South Dakota. And then we're doing Forest. And then, Laurel, Montana, she said, when I asked her about that one, she said it was, most of the residents there go to Billings to work. Or commute to Billings.
Laurel.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
I just wish I knew what the population is.
Can you
That
spell?
was similar to, the ones that they picked are similar.
Oops.
You know, I'm assuming we're going with, four, are we doing 4 and 4? 4 big, 4 small?
I think that'd be good.
Cause then I don't need to cross. Lennox, South Dakota. Anything on that? No.
What are the, what's
Population.
Harrisburg would be better.
Harrisburg.
Next, Deluxe, Arlington. Did she mention that at all?
No, but she told me I could, if you had different requests to let her know, and then she would go about trying to get the information from them too. That's what she's gonna inquire with all the ones that we picked, that she gets all of their. She's obviously get through the scales, all that stuff, so.
Is that always one to remember at the last, or at the end of training, or at their annual conference with League of Cities, they were talking, that gal was talking, it's right outside of Minot, more of a bedroom community, and some of the challenges that those can be. There, so,
What was the name?
Deluxe Burlington.
Lennox has 2539 for population. That's not bad.
Lennox, South Dakota, I would recommend Harrisburg because it's more developing and it's around 67. And it's also just Kitty Wampus of Lennox, just south of Sioux Falls. It's a better representation.
Thanks, Ashley.
Surrey.
North Dakota, the other side of.
East, southeast.
I would say for information.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
like
How many do we
1400.
have so far?
That would be if we're not doing Lennox, South Dakota, and doing Deluxe. So we would have Belfort, Forest, Laurel, Montana, and
I think that.
and then I'll have her. She'll come back to me with the large, and then do the same thing. Go through and pick your 4 that you want to use in the comparison. And then we're having them draw their own conclusions on mid and max. Yes, that works.
Yeah.
So,
And then the only other thing that I had was a newsletter. We can do a 4th quarter or send out a 4th quarter. Are we gonna do a catch up one, or are we gonna?
That's gonna have to be a council decision, whether we're going to send those in.
I have no problem doing it. I don't know if there's really much of. It's more.
Deputy Auditor, will you repeat what you said?
Newsletter, because they're gonna keep getting one, we can do one in the 4th quarter, for the 4th quarter of 25.
We were gonna do the council
Mm-hmm.
one, and I had sent out the schedule for when it had to be back in, so we could have it included in.
Right.
Perhaps we can just consider doing something that's a little bit more general and not so specific. If we don't have much to report, it can just be general, it's short.
But I sorry, they are. I definitely think council mayor, that letting the public, know and reminder that there's 2 seats available soon should just be in the water bill. don't necessarily know if it has to be, you know, in a newsletter or something, but. So I think we should be okay with pausing the newsletter? Council? Or do we need, or do we really want you?
Or maybe another consideration could be not doing 4 times a year, maybe we could do a little bit less. Semi-regular.
Not a bad idea with the interlonger,
What?
not a bad idea with the interlonger, that to give that further opportunity to get in the office and then. It's just. Since you just had general. The thing is, you have a lot of avenues that announce the things that are going on in the city. You have Facebook, you have the text gov, you have the mobile app, you have. So,
Might be a little bit redundant.
yes, there might be something that some residents are accustomed to or used to. However, there's other avenues and places where you can get what's happening and what's going on versus a newsletter. You have the website now that has tells you about the minutes, which you guys address what's going on as well. I mean, there's just.
And there's still a way for people to request printed information from the office, correct, if they so choose.
We wanna do like a spring in the fall.
I guess in light of us, hearing that it might be a little bit redundant, I'm not necessarily opposed to us pausing it at this time in our interim, with the auditor position.
Get comfortable and then we can revisit it and see.
It's not holiday year end letter.
Yeah.
I think everybody's had enough of it.
Or year-end in February.
And then it just saves time and then treats too a little bit for them, so.
All right, if we're okay with positive, so I think the general consensus is a real positive.
Anything else, Debbie, on it?
I believe that's it. Is there a consequence if they don't hand in their statements? In most stations. Right, pretty first.
I don't.
Mine's right
Can you
here.
look into that? I can. Like what happens when somebody resigns and they haven't done. Back to the situation, I don't need an answer, just let look into it.
I guess it's a matter of Secretary of State.
Deputy auditor.
It's kind of funny because at Capitol today in both houses, they had a reminder to all of the representatives and senators that it is due, and there are quite a few outstanding.
I just know that it says for the cities and the cities of our size, it says to the city auditor, so. I'm assuming we just keep it in a folder, and if somebody asks for it, then it's, an open record. Yeah.
Did you all write 26?
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Mistake.
You understand where it's yours.
All right, well.
I think it's funny that you thought I knew the answer to that.
Phones, lower phones.
It is 7:58 and we stand adjourned.
You're supposed to know.